and then we'll finish the night. Yesterday, the Rebbe explained the meaning of V'yichu Elecha. That V'yichu Elecha is that we will bring to Moshe. And what does that mean, we will bring to Moshe? That means that through our Aveda Milamata, we transform, we elevate ourselves from the level of Mesiras Nefesh to the level of Kasis Lamar, because we have to be the ones who bring Kasis Lamar into Pnimis. We have to go from that state of the external, so to speak, Mesiras Nefesh, relative to Kerches Pnimim. It's external, it's imposed upon us. It goes through us, but it doesn't affect us, to the state where otherwise the nature of our conscious reality completely changes. Now, in brackets, the Rebbe says liar. The Rebbe is going to talk about the Indian of Veata tetzave b'nei Yisrael. We mentioned it earlier in 2 lines. Now the Rebbe is going to talk about it a little for 5 lines, 5 lines. The idea of the Advanced Chassidus of the whole Indian, that you will bring together the Jewish people. Ulahar shal yedei zeh, through the level of Kasis Lamar, even more than the level of Mesiras Nefesh, nisvasef gam b'achdus Yisrael. There is an addition, an increase in the unity of the Jewish people. Da'achdus Yisrael yedei etzem neshama, that the unity of the Jewish people, by virtue of the revelation of the essence of the soul, shemizgale behem, that's revealed in them, it's like something in addition to their existence, which we talked about before, that Mesiras Nefesh could be something that, so to speak, has been added to this person's reality. It hasn't become his reality. It's how he's behaving, and his behavior can last 20 years, and it's amazing and incredible, but it hasn't changed his conscious reality. So it's something like it's been added to him, that's expressing itself through him. So too, that would affect the unity of the Jewish people. His feeling of connection to the rest of the Jewish people would not be an expression of his absolute conscious day-to-day reality. It would be an expression of this special, transcended, inspired reality that he finds himself in. Even though it might be for 20 years, it's still ultimately something we know that might be temporary. 32nd chapter of Tanya, chapter Lev, which, interesting enough, was added later in Tanya. It wasn't in the original version of Tanya. There wasn't a chapter Lamed Beis. It was added later, and in that chapter, the Rebbe talks about Advanced Chassidus. And what's the key to Advanced Chassidus? Is to make your neshama the ikar and your goof tafel. And the Rebbe explains that mitzad the goof, so every single one of us has a different abba. Mitzad the neshama, every single one of us shares an abba. So if we look at each other, mitzad and neshama, so then we'll see each other as siblings. And siblings tend to get along. Now that doesn't mean they always get along, but they tend to get along, and they work very, very hard on getting along. And it doesn't matter what their positions are, what their particular belief system is, etc. I mean, okay, it's there, but it's not of ultimate importance. What's ultimate importance is this is my sibling, and I get along with them. So too the Yidden. But there's a higher level. By virtue of the revelation of the neshama as it's sourced in Atzmus, the level of Kasis Lamar, which is that which brings about the reality that the person's conscious reality and their essential reality are one. So then what happens? Therefore, even the expression of his conscious powers, who chadim etzem, is one with his essence. Then what? Then the unity of the Jewish people, it's not a function of being a brother or sister. It's a function of being one. Right? And so the unity of the Jewish people expresses itself in every aspect of this person's being, because he's connected to his essence in every aspect of his being. And mitzad is etzem, so what did we learn? Everybody's one. They're all one. Gam binyanim meshayachim leguf. Even those things that are relevant to the guf. Because in the Alter Rebbe's understanding of Achdus Yisrael in Tanya, Meaning, obviously, the Alter Rebbe also understands this level, but the level that the Alter Rebbe is discussing in Tanya is the level in which the neshama is the ikr and the goof is tafel, and as long as the neshama is the ikr and the goof is tafel, then I can get along with Yidden. But as soon as I set the goof as the ikr, so there's all sorts of reasons. I mean, it's not now is not the time to get into that, the discussion of chapter 22 in Tanya. But simply, if I set the goof as the ikr, so then what the Alter Rebbe says there very simply is that means every single one of us has a different Abba. That means every single one of us is different, and we're dafka emphasizing the difference. And physical reality is what separates one person from another, because physicality is all about separation, differentiation. Right? There's a million instead of one. And where does that come from? Physical reality. Okay. Whereas the person sees the neshama as the ikrs, then av echad lekulanu. Right? There's one father to all of us, is the lashon of the Alter Rebbe there. Okay. But if a person comes to this point, then what? Then even mitzad the goof, it's one with the yidden. Why? Because the essence of the neshama is the essence of the chayus of the goof, just like it's the essence of every level of neshama. So the person is one and completely and totally with every other Jew, and it's not a function of emphasizing one aspect of reality over another. It's just a function of experiencing essential reality. And then all of reality is one. Okay. Now we have to see footnote 56 before we go further. In chapter Yud, so the Rebbe explained the two different levels of, we said there are four levels, right? The level of, and this is going to be important, we have to talk about all four. The level of emunah that comes from Mazli Chazi, which is a makif, which is re'iyah above. Then we said there's a level of the revelation of Etzem in the Neshama. And what will that do? That'll bring emunah into Das. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. There's an even more powerful expression of that. Well, we'll see whether it's more powerful, less powerful. There's a more revealed expression of that, and that's Mesiras Nefesh. And that's the Iker expression of Etzem and Neshama, being connected to Yechid. And then there's a level even deeper than that, and that's called Kosis Lamar. Okay. So what did the Rebbe do in Yud? He showed the advantage of Kosis Lamar over Mesiras Nefesh. It affects the conscious reality in a constant way. But the Rebbe didn't talk about Das. So here's Das. Similarly, relative to the drawing down of Emunah into Das, which is Moshe Rabbeinu, as opposed to Mordechai, and ultimately, meaning the Frierdiker Rebbe, and therefore, Kosis Lamar is our Rebbe. That's our generation. Things in Golis are not bad, and yet we still have to ultimately be crushed by the Golis. But the Metzias of Golis, not the situation in Golis, is relatively good. Even now, with all the craziness. Certainly, up until 3 months ago. The fact that Emunah affects the person's conscious reality, who yisran ve'ilui, this is a certain level even greater legave inyan of Mesiras Nefesh than Mesiras Nefesh. Oh, so now we're going to learn something about where Das fits in this whole thing, because we sort of thought it was Das, Mesiras Nefesh, Kosis Lamar, in terms of no. The Rebbe said no, that it's now going to be Mesiras Nefesh, Das, and Kosis Lamar. Now you will recall in Ois Vav. So the Rebbe said very, very clearly that there's an advantage of the inyan of Mesiras Nefesh, of Mordechai. So on a certain level, Mordechai is more the Moshe of his generation than Moshe was even in his. Be'inyan zeh, the Rebbe says, in this matter. What's this matter? Mesiras Nefesh. Meaning, to the extent that Mesiras Nefesh is a revelation of the essential connection of the Yid to the Eibishter, to that extent, Mesiras Nefesh is a more powerful expression of Yechidah B'Nefesh than bringing it into Das. Therefore, Mordechai is more Moshe than Moshe in this inyan, because it was revealed through Mesiras Nefesh. But the Rebbe says, Be'inyan zeh, And in footnote 37, the Rebbe says, look at footnote 56. So now we're going to understand it. V'yesh leimer. The b'amshochas emuna b'das, bringing emun into pnimius, zeh shenimshach b'gilui, right? That which it is drawn down in a revealed way in the person's conscious reality. Hi emuna shemitzad mazli chazi. Oh, manyen. What does it mean to bring emunah into das? The Rebbe says it means to bring the makif into pnimius. And what's the makif? Mazli chazi. Meaning, the source of this das is the fact that I see elokus, and I'm bringing that into pnimius. So I see elokus in my everyday life. Lashkocha pratis. Person's aware of elokus and everything happening around them. That's the das. So therefore, you could say that the source of that is not, so to speak. We'll see, it is, but we'll see what the Rebbe is meaning, because up until now we said that Moshe brings emun into das. How? By being mefarnes as a emuna, and therefore saying that the emun is coming from etzem and neshama. That's what we've been saying. Well, I understand. Now, the Rebbe just said a line that seems to contradict that the emuna that's brought into das, the source of it is mazli chazi. What's mazli chazi? That I see elokus. Oh, yes, exactly that. It's as if the person sees elokus down here in Elam Hazeh. But, Elo, shachibur shalamayla midas imadas. What is it that allows this superconscious reality of mazli chazi to come into das? Koyach emun, koyach atzmus. Atzmus is a level beyond transcendent and immanent. Therefore, atzmus can make harmony between those two different states of reality, transcendent and immanent. So the so-called source of the emunah is mazli chazi. The emunah comes into das. Why? Because now, down in the conscious world, the person is, so to speak, seeing elokus. But what is it that will allow for the makif a level of or that's too powerful to be clothed in a kli, a level of connection to a Kadosh Baruch Hu that's super rational? How can that resonate in my rational reality? We're looking at footnote 56. How can that resonate in my rational thought? How can that be part of my conscious reality? Oh, what's atzmus? Atzmus is a level beyond conscious, beyond superconscious, and can bring about a synthesis of both. So, b'koyach ha'atzmus, the mazli chazi comes into das, comes into pnimius. That's what the Rebbe just said. Ela shachibur da'amuna shelamayla midas imadas hu al yedei hamshachas etzem and neshama, drawing down etzem and neshama. Hainu shagilui etzem and neshama, the revelation of etzem and neshama, hu loirak nasinas koyach, is not simply an empowerment, the bechinas emuna, to the level of emuna shemitzad, that's a result of hamakif the chaya. This is the first time the Rebbe said chaya the nefesh. The only time, the whole time. Right? That brings down into conscious reality the level of makif the chaya shenis chaber im das, that it will be joined and connected to das. In other words, the lamayla min das, super conscious reality, will come into consciousness. What allows that to happen? A revelation of atzmus, which is beyond both. Right? Veloy, and not, but that this idea of emunah coming into das is not loy shemizgalis etzem and neshama atzma. It's not that there's an actual revelation of etzem and neshama in the conscious reality of this person, which there is in the time of Mesiras Nefesh. It's that the level of mazli chazi now comes into das. How can mazli chazi come into das? B'koyach atzmus. There's a revelation of that aspect of the neshama where super rational, it's all one, and that allows this super conscious reality to express itself in conscious reality. So there's a revelation of atzmus, but it's a revelation of atzmus which brings about the synthesis of these two levels, which theoretically shouldn't have anything to do with each other. But it's not that there's an actual revelation of atzmus in this person's reality mamish. So at this point you would say, I think, we would agree that therefore the level of das, right? There's das, Mesiras Nefesh, Kosis Lamar. In Pos Yud, the Rebbe only explained that the two levels of Mesiras Nefesh and Kosis Lamar. Here, the Rebbe is explaining where does Das fit in. Oh, so at this point, you would say Das is lower than Mesiras Nefesh. Why? Because what's Das? But when Moshe Rabbeinu, the person Moshe Rabbeinu was Mamshich Emunu B'das by his generation, Ad Kedei Kach, that they were called the Dor Deya. What does that mean? That means B'koyach ha'atzmus, through the revelation of Etzem of the Neshama, he brings about a synthesis of superconscious me, which is Mazli Chazi, with conscious me. So I see Elokus as I'm walking around in Eilam Hazeh. I don't see it like I see physicality, but that's the conscious reality of the Jew. He's seeing Elokus. How's that expressed? Hashgacha Pratis is the most obvious expression of it. He sees the Eibishter's hand and everything that's happening. That's his das. That's how he relates to reality. So he gets a flat tire. So the flat tire, so he's Eibishter wanted me to have a flat tire, and he wants me to deal with it. And if the Rugelach aren't ready, okay, the Eibishter wanted the Rugelach not to be ready, so I'd be able to overcome my desire for a Rugelach. Right? It's the big deal. It's like such a terrible thing. Oh. So that consciousness is a consciousness that Moshe brings down. How? A revelation of Etzem and Neshama. Not that there's a revelation of Etzem and Neshama mamish as there is in the time of Mesiras Nefesh. That revelation of Etzem, which allows for the superconscious and conscious to exist in harmony, because by Etzem there's no beyond, and there's no immanent, there's no transcendent. It's all one. Oh. Okay, so how is this advantageous for Mesiras Nefesh, which is what we said in the first line? Mashein Kain. That's not the case. Shegilui Elokus, Mashen Kain, Zeh Shegilui Elokus Negel Eletzim Mitziyusa. That the revelation of Elokus affects the essence of his being. That's Kosis Lamar. Shalochein Hu Nishbar V'Nitga Mizeh. He's completely crushed. Shebezman Agolis Lo Yesh, which often happens in Chassidus for some reason, instead of saying Ein Lo Yesh, which is English, there is not. Right? There isn't an Ein in English. There's just a no is. Right? But there is not Lo Yesh Gilu Elokus. Right? That's Kosis Lamar. Hare Gilu Diskashus Atzmitz. The revelation of his essential connection, Shemitzad Etzem and Neshama, that's a function of Etzem and Neshama, Shemizgalis Bezeh, that is revealed in the fact Shegilu Elokus Negel Etzem Mitziyusei, that the revelation of the Kodesh Baruch Hu affects the essence of his being. That's Kosis Lamar. He's crushed because the Eibishter isn't revealed. His situation in Golus is just fine. He opens up the closet and decides which clothes to wear today. Right? Okay? And he decides what to have for breakfast. There's a choice. And he decides which tea he wants and how many rugelach I should take. Right? It's a good Golus, as Golus goes, but Golus is a disaster. Why? Because the Eibishter isn't revealed. That level of Kosis Lamar. Who Neisif al Oifen and Sinas Koyach, in addition to the empowerment of Atzmus producing this reality, which is bringing Emun into Das, that's the Nesinis Koyach from Atzmus to bring the transcendent into the immanent. That's bringing Emun into Das, Mazli Chazi into Das. Neisif al Oifen and Sinas Koyach. Gam, what is there? She's kashus ha'atzmis, his essential connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu, atzma, that itself, mi'ira begilui, shines in a revealed way. Bedugma, similar to a gilui shalabini in a Mesiras Nefesh. Similar to its revelation at the time of Mesiras Nefesh, because how is it revealed at Mesiras Nefesh? So you don't see Etzem and Neshama. What do you see? The person's clearly acting in a way that's completely consistent with his essential connection to the Eibishter, even though it's not necessarily affecting his conscious reality at Kedei Kach that it's changing it, but it's acting through it in a very, very obviously godly and incredible way. V'gam gilui zeh, And this is talking about Kosis Lamar. This revelation, the Etzem and Neshama Atzma, Mischaber, is united imatzir de Keiches Giluyim with the reality of his conscious powers. Okay, so now the Rebbe talked about Das, and then he went right back to Kosis Lamar in the last paragraph. But where did Das fit? So he wanted to explain to us that Das fits into a level that on a certain level is higher than Mesiris Nefesh. So what's the advantage of the Das as opposed to Mesiris Nefesh? What the Rebbe just explained to us. We had three different aspects in which Moshe Rabbeinu connects us to the Eibishter. What does that mean? Moshe Rabbeinu is mefarnes es emunah. He nourishes our emunah. What does that mean? That means he brings about a situation that our emunah is a function of our essential connection to the Eibishter. What does that mean? Well, that can mean three things. That can mean that he brings it into Das, part of my conscious reality. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. It means we can act with Mesiris Nefesh. That's Mordechai. Or it can be the notion of Kosis Lamar, which is clearly the highest, because that's when the Etzem itself becomes part of my conscious reality. So now, what did the Rebbe just explain in footnote 56? That when we say Moshe Rabbeinu brings emun into Das, and what are we saying? That this is a chiddush here, because we've never seen this before. That's that Mazli Chazi now comes in as part of my conscious reality. So where's Etzem in all that? There's no Etzem. Oh no, there is Etzem. So what's the Nesinas Koyach? What empowers the superconscious reality, the makif, to be clothed in Panemius? Etzem. Etzem is that which allows two opposite realities to exist in harmony one with the other. Why? Because in Etzem, these two opposite realities don't exist. There is no transcendent and immanent. There's just Eibishter. So there's an Nesinas Koyach from a revelation of Atzmus that allows Mazli Chazi to come into Das. That's my shit. There's a level of Mesiris Nefesh where there's a Gilui of Etzem and Neshama. But what's the limitation of that, based on this mimer? Of the Mesiris Nefesh? What doesn't happen?
The Etzem and Neshama itself is not revealed?
Right, that is, well, Etzem and Neshama is revealed in terms of my behavior, but it hasn't affected my actual conscious reality. Oh. So in the first level, Moshe bringing it into Das, has it affected my conscious reality?
Yes.
Yes, that's the advantage. That's why the Rebbe says it's actually a higher level than Mesiris Nefesh. So Moshe is changing who I am by allowing for a synthesis, by allowing through the revelation of Etzem and Shama, but in this context we're saying an Nesinas Koyach, an empowerment that comes as a result of Etzem and Neshama, that my relationship with the Eibusher should be part of my Das, it should be part of my conscious reality. And what's the source of that relationship? Mazli Chazi. My soul sees God, so I see God down here. Is there an absolute oneness? No, but it resonates in Das. It resonates in Das. The consciousness, the conscious reality of the person. Then the person has to do the Avodah. What's the Avodah? Connect that to Etzem and Neshama, and that's Kosis Lamar. Right? The Rebbe doesn't say that here, but that's what the Rebbe said relative to Mesiris Nefesh in Yeshiva. In so Yeshiva, I'm saying. Okay. So that's Das. Mesiris Nefesh is Etzem and Neshama being revealed through the behavior of this person that's not affecting their conscious state. It's working through their conscious state temporarily. It's not affecting. Then there's Kosis Lamar, which is the synthesis of both of those. It's brought into consciousness mamish. It's Etzem and Neshama mamish. And it's brought into conscious reality. So Das fits in the middle. On a certain level, Etzem, the Mesiris Nefesh is greater than Das. That's what the Rebbe says in Yeshiva. Be'inyin zeh, Mordechai is more Raya Mayamna than Moshe. Why? There's a greater Gilui of Etzem and Neshama. That's Mesiris Nefesh. What isn't there? Das. Hasn't become part of my conscious reality. It's just how I'm acting. It's like a davar noisef. It's like something that's in addition to who I am. So those are the three levels based on footnote 56. So there's an advantage to Mesiras Nefesh over Das because it's an absolute Gilui of Etzem Neshama. There's an advantage of Das over Mesiras Nefesh in that it's Nimshach in the Pnimis. It becomes part of the person's conscious reality. The synthesis of both of those is Kassis Lamar. Wow. Now we've got it all. After that footnote, everything's in order. Now, in all fairness, that footnote's in Yeshiva, so you still don't understand the Yihu Alecha, but we already did that. Okay, let's go Al Pizeh. Val Pizeh Yuvan. Al Pizeh Yuvan Mashakosov, that which it says in the Mimer, Dal Yidei Yisrael Meisifim, by virtue of the fact that the Jewish people add, they increase. Al Yidei Vedasim B'Madregas Meisha, Al Yidei Zeh Yeh Inyan Ner Tamid. Well, we're going to answer the last question. So the last question was, in the context of Kassis Lamar, it said Ner Tamid, but the next pasuk says Miyad Avad Leker. Look at what the Rabbi says. You won't believe it. The L'chura Zeh Shaner the Neshama, the fact that the candle of the Neshama, and the Neshama is compared to a candle, Ner Havaya Nishmas Adam, the candle of Hashem is the Neshama of a person. The Rebbe says in no. Haftarah Parshas Ba'alei famous mimer. No. The Rebbe explains there when discussing the Indian of Ner Neshama, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam, the Rebbe says actually an amazing thing. Simple pshat in that pasuk. Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. The Ner of Hashem, the candle of Hashem is the neshama of a person. From that we learned that the neshama is like a candle. Okay. But what does a candle do? Burns.
Tries to go up.
Okay, a simple shot. What does a candle do? It
Makes
burns, but I mean,
Makes light.
makes light. Thank you very much. Okay. I hate to be so simple, but that's what a candle does. The reason you light a candle is not that it will burn, is not that it will go up, is not you light a candle so there will be light. Right? Okay. For who?
For us.
For me. Like, I mean, if I'm lighting the candle, I'm lighting the candle for me, that I should have light. Isn't that an amazing pasuk? Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. Who gets light, so to speak, from our neshama? That's a pretty amazing pasuk, right? Oh yeah, the neshama is a candle. Whoa. Yeah, okay. So to speak, the Eibishter is illuminated by our neshama. Now, the Eibishter doesn't need that illumination, but he likes that illumination. In other words, we reveal him in places where, so to speak, he's not. I mean, he is, but he's not revealed. But that's obviously not where the Rebbe is going here. Can't believe I can't remember the name of the mimer. Zeh shener neshama ner Hashem nishmas adam, hu tamid, it's constant, b'shaveh, equally, bli shinui, without change. When did we see someone reach a state of without change? Was Mesiras Nefesh without change, or was Kassis Lamar without change? Kassis without change. Kassis Lamar, lales ner tamid. That's when you get a ner tamid. Kassis Lamar. Hu al yedei gilu etzem in the neshama. That's through the revelation of etzem in the neshama. Shanim shachal yedei Moshe. That's drawn down through Moshe. Veata tetzave. The be'etzem in the neshama ain't shach shini. By etzem in the neshama, there's no change. It is what it is. Uba maimer, and in the maimer it says she'in the ner tamid hu al yedei she'yisrael meisifim ha'madregas Moshe. Right? And in the pasuk, but also in the mimer. How do we get to Kosis Lamar? Through V'yichu Elecha. What's V'yichu Elecha? So we just learned in the Mimer that V'yichu Elecha, you have to go, switch back to Yud Aleph. We were just in Yud, learning the footnote, Beseda, but now switch back to Yud Aleph. What did we learn in Yud Aleph? We learned in Yud Aleph that through our avoda of internalizing the connection to Etzem and Neshama through our avoda, then we elevate ourselves from the state of Mesiras Nefesh to the state of Kosis Lamar. And that's the Ner Tamid. And that's V'yichu Elecha. As Moshe takes us to the point of Das or Mesiras Nefesh. And we have to get further. If we're going to get further, it's because we do it, not because Moshe is doing it. So that's the addition to Moshe. We're adding to Moshe. We're taking Moshe to an even higher place. In the revelation of the essence of the soul that happens from above below, that's Moshe doing it, Veata tetzave. In that, throughout the tetzave, which can be Mesiras Nefesh, yesh chiluk ben erev baker. There's a difference between erev and baker. What the Rebbe says is just unbelievable. She'ikar hagilui, look at that last page. She'ikar hagilui shalah. When is there the ultimate revelation of Etzem and Neshama? When it comes from above. K'sheyeshnam helomis vesterim. When the situation in Gullus is dark, it's Erev. When it's Erev, there's a revelation of the Neshama. When do you light the menorah? But Erev, it's lit at night. Why is it? I mean, we know it's lit by a plug, but it burns all night. Why is it lit at night? When does Mesiras Nefesh happen? When it's dark out. Things are bad. When it's a baker, when things are good, what happens? No more Mesiras Nefesh. Kosis Lamar is in their Tamid. It's constant. What's the whole difference between Kosis Lamar and Mesiras Nefesh? That's what the Rebbe explained. You see people who came out of Russia, and after 20 years of unbelievable Mesiras Nefesh in Russia, when they get to wherever they get in New Jersey, so they're acting like everybody else. Oh, meaning once it's Baker, there's no more Ner Neshama. Not revealed. Whereas when it was Erev, it was revealed in an incredible way. So that's Mesiras Nefesh. That's Erev at Baker. What brings you to the point of Kosis Lamar? The avodah v'yichu alecha. When the Yid does his avodah from below and brings about a situation where the Etzem and the Neshama is revealed in his conscious everyday life and affects his conscious powers, then it's a Ner Tamid. Then it's constant. Wow. Unbelievable. Shu k'sheyeshnam helomis v'sterim erev. It's dark out. The situation in Golus is bad, and therefore the Jew comes to a state of Mesiras Nefesh. That's Erev. But when it becomes Baker, so then it's no longer necessary. Ukemation is barley, like we explained earlier, Sifyut. Shagame lo, even though Shabizmana Gezeda, that in the time of the Gezeda, which is Erev, Amdu b'Mesiras Nefesh. When they came to a place, they came to a place where they could serve the Eibishter calmly, no one was bothering them, and that's Baker. It's not recognized the Mesiras Nefesh there was before. So to speak, there's no revelation of Ner Hashem anymore. Nishmas Adam. Oh, why? Because it only burns me Erev Ad Baker, but only Ad Baker. Once it's Baker, I don't need that anymore. That level of connection isn't necessary. That's the next pasuk. But Al Yedei V'yichu Elecha, through the avodah of the Yid below, that the situation in Golus brings him to a point where he's expressing Mesiras Nefesh, and then he internalizes that reality Ad Kedei Kach that it becomes him, and that brings about Ner Tamid. If he doesn't internalize it, it's Mi'avad Baker. As soon as it's Baker, there won't be a revelation of this. But if he internalizes it, it affects him for the rest of his life. It's a Ner Tamid. Wow. V'amiti seinin the Ner Tamid. The true reality of Ner Tamid, she'ein shayach b'shinu, if there's no change, doesn't matter whether you're in New Jersey, LA, or Soviet Russia. Hu al yedei avedasim shel Yisrael, that can only happen through our avodah from below, as we learned in Eis Yud. I see. Also, yes, Rabbi Yiralef. Shagama Keiches Hagiluyim, also his conscious revealed reality. You Chadim Etzem Neshama will be one with Etzem Neshama v'yichoi lecha. Wow. The Rebbe just answered the last question. It's just unbelievable. Ner Tomi or Erev the Baker? Rav Asher Farkash was talking about learning this with Rav Yol. Maybe I talked about it before, I don't remember. Learning this with Rav Yol, and Rav Yol said in his inimitable way, this level that the Rebbe says is shaykh to us, it's not shaykh if we eat coffee, if we eat chocolate. If you eat chocolate, then this isn't happening. Right? Now, I didn't, you understand what he means, right? Okay. Well, if you eat a piece of chocolate every day because it's good for your cholesterol, that's different than eating chocolate. Right? There's two things that are nice titles in Elam Hazeh that you can eat because they're also good for you. I mean, I personally don't dry red wine, but there are people who do. So dry red wine and dark chocolate is good for your heart. Right? Okay. That's evidently one of the reasons, not the only, I'm sorry, but one of the reasons why, even though the level of smoking in France is much higher than in America, and the food they eat is generally, look, it depends on who in America, right? But there's less of an awareness relative to, super healthy food, etc. But their instance of heart attacks are much lower than America, which is really interesting. You think France would have incredibly high, because smoking is still a very common thing in France. But first they say they tend to laugh a lot, be a little calmer, not worried about running the world. They did that once, and now they're just angry that they're not, but they're not worried about it, right? But they drink red wine. They said the dry red wine is and they just drink the stuff like water. It's just, they really do drink a lot of it. Like it's at every meal. Not at breakfast, but they will have a glass of red wine with every meal. Right. I remember being in France it was in France for a week doing something, and so we left Sunday morning, but Mitzi Shabbos was Mitzi Shabbos of Slichas. So we're saying Slichas. We were in the Chabad house in Aubervilliers, and I asked the Shliach, I said, we're there for Shabbos. And I said, some nice French wine. What I do, we'll take back a couple of bottles of wine. We're here, let's take back some bottles of wine. He said, okay. What do you want to pay? I said, I don't know. What is there? He says, well, it starts with €1. You can get a bottle of wine, and it's drinkable. The stuff for €10 is better, but the stuff for €1, a bottle of wine, no problem. And I assume your average guy on the street is drinking that stuff. Right? This is kosher already, right? So that it's going to cost more because it was €1. It's like water, but evidently it's good for you. Okay. But if you're going to spend your whole day in with your head in taivas and Elam Hazeh, you're not going to come to Kassis Lamar. Does that mean that we're ascetic? No, it does not mean with that. That's just as much yeshus as eating chocolate. Right? Let's just do one more paragraph, and then we'll stop, and then we'll finish the Bible tomorrow, and we'll celebrate. Now we understand why Kassis Lamar is in the pasuk after V'yichoi Lecho. Because Yichalecha is our avodah. Ki b'Kassis Lamar nichlal gam zeh, and Kassis it's included also zeh. She Yisrael hem shvurim v'mikarim Kassis mizeh shehem b'golas. It's that higher level that also includes includes that higher level, and that's a function of our avodah from below. The inyan zeh o yedei avodasim she Yisrael. That can only happen through our avodah. Meish Rabbeinu opens us up to Elokus. It's almost Yud Shvat, so I remember a letter from a student after her year in SEM. This is 20 years ago, more. That she had an amazing year in SEM, and she was just, it was a letter, like, a letter like with an envelope with a stamp. It was in those days. Stamp is this little thing you put in an envelope and then you put it in a box and it tells the way it gets supposed to go. So she said she's just appreciative of her year in SEM and learning a lot of Chassidus, and she felt she grew a lot. And then she said, my year in SEM is summed up by a statement that she heard in the name of Mendel. It is sometimes attributed to someone else. She said in the letter of Mendel, so that's it's also attributed to Mendel. But it's, right? And what did she write in the letter? Thank you, Hashem, for giving me the Rebbe. Thank you, Rebbe, for giving me Hashem. So who's the Rebbe? Who's Moshe? Moshe is the one. Moshe Rabbeinu. Rabbeinu is Moshe's last name. But Moshe is the one that opens us up to the fact that we're actually Shaykh Delukos. But then, so he opens us up to who we really are, but then we have to do the work to bring that about in our conscious reality. Moshe doesn't make it part of our conscious reality. Moshe just opens us up to the fact that that's what's real. Then we have to do the work to bring that into our conscious reality, and that's Kosis Lamar. If we don't do the work, it doesn't happen. The Inyan Zesh, who are you there by Dosim Shisa? That's V'yichol Lecho. Shagam Keiches Agiluyim Shalehem, that also their revealed powers, Mat'imim, will be consistent, La'etzem Neshama, with the essence of their soul, Ubechinas HaMa'or Neshama, and the Ma'or of the Neshama, the luminary of the Neshama, Shemizgales Al Yadei, that is revealed through this, He Etzem and Neshama Kameshim Mushreshes Ba'atzmus. This is the highest level of the Neshama. So now basically the Rebbe's told us there's 6 levels of Neshama. There's Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida. The Rebbe hasn't given any once. The Rebbe mentioned Makif the Chaya. Chaya and Yechida is the Etzem and Neshama. And then there's the Etzem itself. Yechid is the name of the Etzem as it expresses itself. And then there's the Etzem. Now that's not all, that's not a Chiddush of this Maimer. That's Bechlal out there in Chassidus. Generally, we talk about the 5 different levels. Okay, Beseder, but there's then the Etzem mitzad itself, not mitzad it being the source of anything else. It just is what it is. That's why we saw in Elokei Elam Barachem Echad Rabbi. So the Rebbe mentions that. Elokei Elam, that's Etzem and Neshama, that's Mushrosh and Atzmus. Right? It's also the Etzem of the Eibishter, just Etzem of the Eibishter. It's nothing to do with worlds. Right? Then, Barachem Echad Rabbi, in Etzem decides, so to speak, to be the source of worlds. And then what emanates from Etzem is what you and I call light. Rachem Aleinu, Adon Yazeinu, etc. Sur means Gabeinu. Why the Etzem and Neshama Kamoshim Yushash Ba'atzmus V'lochein, therefore in Nemar it says Kosis Lamar, the idea of Kosis Lamar, which is the highest level, that's Behemshech V'yichu Alecho, that's a continuation of V'yichu Alecho. Let's finish the Maimon. V'hinei, HaPeirush B'pashtus B'vad, what we're going to do tomorrow, I don't know, we'll figure out. V'hinei, HaPeirush B'pashtus B'vad, tetzave b'nei Yisrael V'yichu Alecho, the simple pshat who Shemeshe Yitzaves b'nei Yisrael, that Moshe should command the Jewish people Yichu Alecho, according to him, Shemazayis, Mizem Muvan Gam B'pnimius Inyanim, so too in Pnimius, Tezeh Shemeshe Mitzavu Mekasher b'nei Yisrael, that which Moshe Rabbeinu commands and connects the Jewish people, who ba'ifim is in such a way, Shemamshich lem nesinas koyach, he empowers them, gam al v'yichu elecho. I have to, Moshe gives me the koyach to do v'yichu elecho. U'kemechein hu b'negei l'Moshe shebedareinu, so too relative to the Moshe of our nation, k'fei kedushas mericham yadmei nasi dareinu, Friedrich Rebbe, Shavidasa le'eder legalus es emunah, that his Aveda to arouse and reveal as emunah shebekol echad Yisrael, the emunah that's in every single Jew, shemitzad etzem neshama that comes in the essence of the soul, he ba'ofen, is in such a way she'achar kach yavdu avedosam b'keich atzmam. They'll do the avodah b'keich atzmam va'ad shiyu ner tamid, until there'll be a ner tamid she'ein shayach be'shinu, that there's no notion of change gam mitzad keiches agilim, even in terms of their revealed powers. Now, where do we see that most? In the next generation. Generation of the Friedrich Rebbe is the generation of Mesiras Nefesh. Our generation is the generation of Kasis Lamar. And by virtue of this, Zeichin B'Karav Mamish, we will be merit in the near future. L'gula mitis v'shlema, the true and complete redemption. She'az yagila lakus gam mitzad amata. Then there'll be a revelation of godliness also in terms of the below. Ya'az havas shemen, and then there will be the bringing of the oil of adlokas and edus and the lighting of the candles. V'yikra lecha shemen la'leis ner tamid. Simple pshat in the pasuk gam b'gashmis. We have to do the avodah in ruchnis. If we do the avodah in ruchnis, we'll bring it down in gashmis. It'll actually happen in gashmis. There'll be a Beis HaMikdash, and we're going to go to the Beis HaMikdash, and it's going to happen in our lifetime. It's going to happen very, very, very soon. It's mamish going to happen. It's not a pipe dream. But Beis HaMikdash Shlishi, and the third Beis HaMikdash Bagula Mitis Vashlema Yedei Mashiach Tzidkenu, in the true and complete redemption that happens through the Mashiach B'Karev Mamish. Whoa.